Welcome to Webinar Wednesday. My name is Martijn Lofvers. I'm the Chief Trendwatcher of Supply Chain Media. I'm also the Editor-in-Chief of Supply Chain Movement. That's a European quarterly magazine, still in print, but also a huge LinkedIn group. I think 60,000 members and a bi-weekly newsletters and a still website with all kind of news related to supply chain. And I'm also the architect of the SCM IT Supply Map, and we'll talk about it later in this live webinar. In this webinar, 60 minutes, we talk about supply chain top and flops, what worked in 2025 and what will matter in 2026. So with me, I have two experts, and I will introduce them right away. So first, Marta Diaz Lorenz, Managing Director of Accenture España. So welcome, Marta.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
So you have 20 years in the supply chain transformation experience in all kind of industries, and you love to learn new things. So what is the latest thing you learned recently?
So this week, really, I learned about how AI is embedded in the way that now students work. So my daughter is in running like final year exams, and they use a lot agents to summarize, to provide exams, give them tips. So it's crazy how this has moved out of science industry to the day-to-day of even our students. So that's a crazy step in this 2026.
Good to know. We'll talk later about workforce and AI and application, that kind of stuff. So Accenture is a system integrator and partner of e2open. e2open is a WiseTech Global group company. So Pablo Quintano, welcome.
Hello and welcome, Martijn. Thanks for having me here.
So Pablo is area vice president of the enterprise solutions consulting of e2open. So you love business results and people. So you're a practical guy. So what is it what you like about practicalities in this world?
Yeah, I think I'm really very much obsessed about making things happen in reality. So I'm trying to move away from the shiny objects, from the nice PowerPoint presentations, and get into action. I love running the workshops to get the actions and get the motion in place. So I hope that this conversation that we'll have will give some guidelines for the audience to get practical tips around moving forward with their challenges and ambitions.
Okay, thanks. A few housekeeping matters. So this webinar is being recorded. It will be made available on YouTube within 48 hours. The audience on mute, but you can interact, so you can chat. So that's one thing. Already people are chatting, but I will check the Q&A functionality. That's one down below. If you have questions to one of us, please use the Q&A functionality. I will track these questions. If these questions are in line of the conversation, I will include them immediately, so you can engage with the three of us. If not, I will have maybe some time at the end for Q&A. And if you still want to have some more conversations, we have an extra 30 minutes in our virtual lounge. So the three of us will be available right after this in the virtual lounge. All right. First, a short introduction. Like I mentioned, I'm the architect of the SCM IT Supply Map. I don't go over it too long. Basically, there's an overview of all kinds of vendors in Europe with established applications of ERP, WMS, and you name it. So this is the latest version just out, and it's also interactively available on the website. And of course, e2open is also on it. And as you can see, there are different kind of supply lines. And also mentioned, e2open has acquired quite a few other applications in some areas, and it has been acquired by WiseTech Global group, I think last year. Pablo, what is the power of this whole portfolio of applications?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for those of you that don't know e2open is the sort of the platform, the connecting your supply chain with the external world, with your upstream supply chain partners, with your CMOs, your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 suppliers, with your downstream, with your global trade parties, customs authorities. And I think the WiseTech acquisition really reinforces that vision of becoming a platform for supply chain players to share data, share information, and become pretty unique. And I think also bringing the obsession about bringing the best product to the customers from a technology perspective. And I think we are getting into pretty fast steps around getting that platform that connects the different supply chains.
Yeah, and as we all know, sharing data as the only way to resolve all the bullwhips that has been happening in the last 4, 5, 6 years. We have seen all kind of bullwhips still going on. We're still not out there. There are still a lot of warehouses full of stuff, out of the COVID-19 pandemic. So this is the way forward. End-to-end supply chain means connecting all the players in your ecosystem, and that's the field e2open is playing in. All right, moving forward. So let's talk about 6 statements. We have 6 statements looking backwards in 2025 and looking forwards in the ongoing in 2026. So the first, you can read it yourself, but AI first supply chain. So I will ask Pablo and Marta to respond to this. So in 2025, most supply chain AI projects claim to be AI first, and we're truly reshaping operations. So Marta, top or flop?
In this case, I would say flop.
Pablo also a flop. So
yeah.
Marta, okay, to explain. So why do you think it was a flop?
I think 2025 has been a year for most of our clients to really think about what they are capable of achieving with AI, right? It's like answering the question, what can I do? Is this reliable enough? To really test themselves if the outcomes that they get out of these AI agents, this support, is really something that they can implement. So it was really specific cases, specific stories with a really limited amount of users and people. So this fully reshaping operations was probably not there yet.
Pablo?
Yeah, I think this is more of a flop because what we say here is most supply chain projects. I think that we've seen in the last years quite a few successful projects, and we have really good use cases using AI, for example, for demand sensing. That's a typical use case that has been in the industry and has proven very successful. I think when we have the AI first in this sentence, many of the people in the audience might think of the latest developments, and I think we had just been in the very early exploration phase during the last year.
And maybe, was it already quite clear what people meant with AI? Because CEOs are talking about AIs, and they were creating budgets for AI projects in finance and supply chain and marketing and HR, and you name it. Was it all clear for everybody in the company what it meant, AI and AI first? Pablo?
Yeah, I think there is we are calling AI everything, right? Analytics is AI, machine learning is AI, all type of optimization seem to be in the bundle of AI. I think that it's a good time to probably step back and think on, let's ignore whether it's AI or not. Let's think about what is the business outcome that we want to achieve, what is the right set of tools, technologies, and methodologies. And I think that's something that we'll discuss a bit later. But yeah, there is obvious confusion around AI in the market for sure.
And Marta, truly reshaping operations. Were companies prepared to reshape operations? Was business ready for this kind of reshaping?
Probably, I would say that they are getting ready, right? So that's a big transformation. Is a big step change in the mindset, in the way that you approach tasks, responsibilities. So it's a journey as any other transformation, and they are getting ready. But it's really this reshaping. It's not about technology implementation. It's not about using one algorithm or changing one specific or implementing one specific capabilities, about changing the mindset in the ways of working. That's why it will take a while.
And I read a report from BCG in 2025 that agentic AI has in supply chain had a limited impact, less than 10%. So it was quite limited in the agentic AI environment. So what was your?
It's true. So we were also running some analysis on that, and we identified that 95% of the clients that implemented AI in the last few years didn't really get the outcome that they were expecting. So there is still a lot that needs to be done to really expand the use, really create the trust. That's why it's more about people, mindset, and it's not just about technology. That was really the focus on trusting on creating, on setting up the technology. Now it's about how are we really gonna reshape our ways of working.
And Pablo, I can expect that from e2open as a vendor, that you were betting heavily on AI, ingraining it in all your applications. So you're pushing it probably a lot last year.
Yeah, I think I won't say we are pushing it. We are definitely getting ready. We have recently upgraded our full supply chain planning suite with agentic AI to help the users enable conversations with the data and become more proficient on solving and resolving actions. The reality is also that we still see many companies sort of 3 steps below to adopt these new technologies. I think it's going to take probably a bit more than the C-suite level would expect. Like, hey, next year is going to be the year of AI adoption. The reality is that it will take a little bit longer because AI is not the unique barrier. It's the operating model, it's the ways of working. So we are getting ready, and I think technology is not going to be a barrier. We are ready to enable AI first conversations, of course.
Before we go to this year, but still, with maybe a bit technical, but when you want to apply AI, you need to have a data layer on top of your applications, because otherwise you have technically APIs, that kind of stuff. So technically, companies should be ready to have a data layer to extract data from different applications to make it all work. So there is some barrier, or there's some layer needed to get ready for that.
Yeah.
Marta?
Data is gonna be always one of the key topics, and I think that's something that, of course, we need to discuss. But what is true is this data layer, we call it our digital brain.
Yeah.
But probably what we discuss with some clients that they are still need to build this layer is about thinking specific business areas, a specific data set. So there's always things that you can start. So there's no need of having the full complete set of data to start working or applying AI. So that's the main takeaway.
Maybe that's a good introduction for this year. So as of now, AI first organizations are finally embedding AI at the core of supply chain decision making. Top or flop? Ooh, flop. Let's take it there, Pablo. So you still think that's a flop?
Yeah, I think it's a flop from the perspective of we need to start getting the focus out of AI as the beauty technology that will solve all of our problems. And I think the reality is that some companies are going into that direction. The reality that we see is that those isolated pilots get little return. We see more return when these conversations are embedded into the whole transformational picture, right? What do you want to achieve, and how AI will support this? But how AI will support this, how connectivity will support this, how data so it's part of the equation. And I just want to sort of remove a little bit of the hype around AI first, only AI only type of transformations. I think it's worth stepping back and putting AI in the context of a broader discussion.
Marta, you say it's top, so do explain.
Yeah, because there's always details there. So what it's true is that one example I'm working in Barcelona, where Accenture has an innovation center around supply chain, and we run workshops with clients, an average of 2 workshops every week. So I would say that the last probably 8 months, each and every workshop, we discuss about AI. So it's really in the mindset of all organizations that embedding AI is a must. So they cannot ignore anymore, no, that AI is there. I think there is a trust in the market that AI has come and it will stay, and we need to see how we embed this in the core operations. But it's true that there is always a but, right? It's true that there is this approach of embedding AI. There is a clear roadmap on which areas they want to tackle first, but it's really fully embedded now. Probably not yet, but it's really the change in the mindset, the adoption, the embedding AI in everything that they are thinking on roadmap and new changes in supply chain, and how it's gonna drive decision making, probably not now, but in the next few months and the future. That's for sure a change in the mindset.
I was reading an article in a Financial Times newspaper last week. So the CEO of NVIDIA said, out loud, that in some areas the cost of tokens was sometimes more for an AI agent, was sometimes more than an employee. So you have to be careful with these tokens of AI agents, what you are going to do about it, because he gave some examples. In some areas, it didn't make any sense to use AI, or it was way too expensive compared to employees. Pablo?
Yeah, I think we've heard that example, and I think that's where it makes sense to step back and put the sort of, what are we trying to achieve? What are the capabilities? Is AI going to support that better than let's say other type of technology? Is this going to be I just recall some examples in the we had recent conversations at the Gartner conference in Barcelona, and many of the conversations were about, I'm still struggling to get my suppliers confirming my orders. It takes me 6 months to get a supplier onboarded. Well, absolutely, that's going to, if you solve that problem, then the connectivity with your suppliers and with your network, you are going to have better data, so you can then apply better AI. If you put AI only in the 4 walls of your company and still have that sort of inaccurate data out of your 4 walls, you're going to be using AI to react, correct to plans, and it's not going to solve the root cause. So I think that's where the solving the root cause rather than putting all the bets into the AI is probably worth the thought.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on to the second statement. So here it is. The SE vendor client triangle is the system integrator vendor client triangle. So in 2025, the tightest system integrator, tech vendor, and client partnerships drove the only real transformation wins with true collaboration. Top or flop? Ooh, that's mixed. All right, let's go to the system integrator Accenture, or it's also a consulting firm. But so, Marta?
So as a good consultant, I would say it depends, right? That's always our answer. So last few years, we had really, really good experiences and also some challenging experiences. But I think that the important thing is learnings, right? I think in some cases, the main area is about like having the same vision and being clear on the same vision from the beginning. in some cases, like being pragmatic is about discussing in advance in enough detail what is the ratio, like the roles or responsibilities of each partner. So that's also one of the main takeaways, and every discussion and every project where we had like this triangle of system integrator, vendor, and client, where we really had enough detail on who owns what, is really making a lot of things easier for all of us, right? And also for collaboration. So it has, we have really good experiences. There are also some challenges experiences, and that's, we keep learning, right, on this collaboration.
Pablo?
Yeah, I think basically I agree a lot with what Marta has said. I mean, Marta and myself, we've been working in the industry for many years together, and we've seen lots of examples on this partnership being extremely successful. I think one area where I definitely have this sort of top agree is that when we see, as Marta was saying, a clear roles and responsibility definition on what is expected from the vendor, from the technology, what is expected from the system integrator, what's expected from the customer. It's not that the customer is just going to sit and wait for the implementations and the transformations to come. They also have a super active role. I think those are very successful examples. On the other side, and being in the technology part of the equation now, I think there are some specific use cases where our customers are also willing to sort of plug and play, switch on, get the data, and get some results back. And I think we have some very specific use cases where that's absolutely possible. That's part of the obsession that we have as a company to build the best products in the market, to bring that expertise. So it's all about configuration. It's all about getting the right processes in place, but it's not about customizations. And I think when the conversation goes wrong, then the conversation can go into create these sort of Frankenstein implementations where you, and when I say you, is it can be anyone, say yes to the customer to everything, and then 3 years down the road, the customer has an implementation that it's a total monster and very difficult to maintain. I think when we get into a good collaboration across vendor, system integrator, and the customer, is when we can agree into what is reasonable, what is the best practice, what is the standard, what are the modifications you do, what are the configurations you do. Then that's when most successful transformation programs happen.
So Marta, in the old days with the system integrators, it was a lot about parameter settings of ERP systems and etc. And and customization, that kind of stuff. But I think things have changed. You visualize process flows. You have a lot of data scientists within your company. You discuss this with your client. You map out the applications provided by e2open and the likes, to how to apply these. So the system field, you've been in this area for 2 decades, has been changed, well, enormously, I would say.
Yeah. So I always focus or approach it as a business transformation, not as a technology implementation. And this means that every partner brings something different, right? The vendor will bring the expertise on their tool, the capabilities, but the SI partner would bring what is done in the market, best practices, how to apply different ways of working, that will be supported by the technology itself, by the vendor itself. But then the client will bring about their business, their challenges. So this partnership, all the three together, is what is really moving to the next phase of transformation. So parameters, technology, the issues about integration, interfaces, this is something that that now it's, and with all the AI and coding that can be standardized. So it's really not really the bottleneck or the main concern that we have in big transformations. Is how do we really bring the value out of the transformation, right? That business case that we normally work, right? And that is really the one that is created at the beginning of the transformation. How do we really achieve, right? That specific savings and new ways of working. So, and that's the combination of the three angles together, client, technology, and the SI partner, that makes really the right combination.
So maybe move on for this year. So maybe you can talk about, for this year. So can the three-way partnership model scale in 2026? Top or flop? So that's promising. So maybe to start with Pablo. So why do you think this will happen and can happen?
Yeah, I think this is basically the only way that things are going to happen. I think our model at e2open WiseTech, especially going forward, is a strong combination of the best possible technology, the best possible products with our best possible partners. Because of that combination, and I think what Marta just said, what we are enabling here is not technology implementations of products. We are not into that game. We are in the game of business transformations. And in that game of business transformations, there is a strong people and change management component. There is a strong process component, a strong operating model, governance, how to set up centralization, decentralization, who's going to use the tool, how is the tools going to be used, how the solutions are going to enable the results, value realization. All those components are definitely better done by this three-way partnership model. I think going forward, and also at the speed that technology is hitting, this sort of three-way partnership is going to be more required than ever. And I think that from a vendor perspective, also the how we evolve our products is something that we can only do if we enter into this partnership model with our customers, rather than just becoming a technology provider.
So Marta, what do you think? So how can it happen?
Yeah, so I fully agree with Pablo, right? This collaboration between the three parties that will really make the success, and it's really a need, right, for future, because it's not only like the three parties and the vendor, but like going again to the topic of today of AI, right? So the fact that we have AI on top, new ways of working, ways to support how users are really making like some of the decisions, and how to embed this with the day-to-day, the current technology and ways of working. All this needs the support of an SI partner and really a strong vendor that can also provide like the backbone of visibility and integration. That's really the strong combination. It's really difficult to cover the full transformation out of technology. Is also about approaching things in a different way. Also, we see a lot of changes in organization. So we don't talk, we talk a lot about ways of working, but also how a team is organized, and the different roles that we may have. So all this is something that we need to bring together. So it's the success of all the areas.
So Marta, I was wondering, do you encounter a lot of companies, having used low code themselves or with data science inside, that they are trying to create their own apps in this field in supply chain?
We see more and more this investment, and I think that we will make this. We will see this grow a lot in the next few years. It's also true that the skill set of data science team and AI team, it's really powerful in terms of and really demanded in the industry. So it's also one of the things that our clients are experiencing is that it's difficult to retain this talent because they really want to learn new things, apply new things, and know or leave other industries. So I think that they invested a lot in creating these teams. They have some challenges to make it grow and also to retain the talent. But there's also some recommendations that we bring on changing roles, motivating them through new challenges all the time to really keep this growing. But this is a position that we see more and more, and we think that it will grow.
So I see a lot of comments in the chat. That's fine. But if you really want me to ask these questions to Marta or Pablo, please use the Q&A functionality, these text bubbles one below, so you can interact with me. So that's better. So if you have really questions to be answered by Pablo or Marta, use the Q&A functionality, so I can track these. Otherwise, in the chat functionality, some people will I'll answer these questions immediately. Let's move on. So Marta, just being said, the investment made by companies. So maybe move on. Roadmaps and North Stars. In 2025, most organizations had a supply chain roadmap and followed it without losing direction to competing priorities. Top or flop? Oh, so let's start with the flop. So Pablo.
Yes. I think of course companies have their own roadmaps. We are talking about top companies doing fantastic performance, but there are also realities, and this is coming out of experience, right? I'm pushing a lot within the e2open WiseTech customer base around having this conversation, right? Rather than trying to push for, hey, we need this project, I always like to ask the question around, can we step back for a moment, for a couple of days, and can we think about what is that ambition? What are you trying to achieve in the next 2 to 5 years? And can we look at supply chain from a holistic perspective? And the reality is that more companies see that as a nice step, but there are still quite a few companies that have the silo mindset of let's not get into the planning toes if I'm in logistics, or if I'm in logistics, let's not get into global trade because those folks have their own roadmap. So I still see that this silo thinking is present in quite a few companies. I think the leaders and the ones that really making, I would say, faster transformations and more solid transformations have this clear roadmap, and it's easier to infuse new initiatives into that clear roadmap. I think there is a need to, as an industry in supply chain, make more of these roadmap exercises.
Marta, what do you think?
I said that these are a top because we work with our clients are really more in the top quartile in some of the cases in terms of transformations. And what we saw some years ago and the last 2-3 years, there was a clear roadmap on what to do. There were some discussions on the priorities, on where were the pain points, where the investments were made, what was the return of investment that was needed to approve an initiative. So they were prioritizing. But so in this case, the change in the mindset in terms of new capabilities coming, and that was a bit more stable, right, in terms of what can be done in the supply chain states. So now in 2026, I see more variability, right, on new things coming, then other priorities probably jumping in. So in most of the cases, I think that these priorities are clear for the clients. In some cases, they are, if there is a clear business case and there is a clear return of investment, they really try to push across the organization that the priorities are executed.
So maybe when I look back at 1 year ago, Trump, called off a lot of tariffs. There's a lot of turmoil, and I saw a lot of hesitance, and people waiting it out, companies waiting it out. Okay, they were preloading stuff, goods to the US, etc. So I think the turmoil of last year, has lost a lot of momentum in a lot of companies. So that's what I saw when I had conversations with supply chain executives. Maybe going forward in 2026, 2026 will be the year supply chain North Star stop being slide deck visions and start driving real execution discipline. Top or flop? Okay, the flop. Okay, I rather start with the flop. It's more interesting than the top. Okay, so Marta, why do you think this is a flop?
I think that so now some companies get a bit overwhelmed with all the new things that are going on, right? All the new capabilities, agents, autonomous topics, automation. So machine learning, they see a lot of new things. They hear that is getting less complex to implement, but this is driving complexity on them, like to decide where they should go first, right? And some decisions are made based on some assumptions, and probably after 2 months, you realize that what it was more complex to be executed, or one approach that you discarded because it was too complex for you to achieve, now it's achievable. So what do you do, right? So there's this. It has been a really big step in capabilities in the ways that we approach supply chain transformation, so that are forcing in some cases to revisit everything that they discussed in the past. So it's really for me it's something that I love, because there is a lot of things that you can learn out of this situation. But I understand that is when you plan for something and then all the environment that where you made the decision is changing around you. So in some cases, this creates some disruption, right, in the approach.
Pablo, you see it as a top, so you agree?
Yeah. I mean, I think I agree in terms of yes, all these disruptions are coming into the way of existing roadmaps. My perception is that based on the experience of the last year, on the failed pilots, on the some of the failed initiatives that some of the companies have experienced with AI, I see more and more the willingness to say, okay, it's a good time to stop, look at the roadmap, what is the North Star, how do we sort of realign different parts of the organization. I'm having more of these cross-functional conversations. I see there is a better understanding that running individual roadmaps rather than a cross-functional is going to pay off results. And I think that's why I see that sort of discipline is going to go up, because people has realized that this is a very good time to sort of step back and look at that vision they want to achieve.
Yeah, I see it myself when I have conversations with companies that the sales and operations planning process, or IBP, integrated business planning, is more and more moving into the direction of the financial planning and analysis cycle. So they get together. So I see finance, supply chain, commercial are getting together in this kind of cross-functional processes, and IT can support with it all its applications. So I also see this kind of development of cross-functional collaboration. All right, let's move on for the next one. Number 4, that's interesting. Emerging supply chain technologies. So digital twins, control towers, and predictive platform buzz through 2025, and organizations truly adopt them. Top or flop? Agree or disagree?
Marta, top, flop, top. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, so Marta, to explain, so top and flop, agree and disagree.
I think in 2025, there were really a lot of investments in creating these digital twins, like being able to create this end-to-end visibility of your supply chain, understanding impact, right? In one step of your supply chain, what is the impact across the different steps? Also, I've heard about, we heard a lot control towers, right? There's different understanding of what control tower means. Is this a list of KPIs? Is this more a mechanism of control where you can react? So if we think about control tower, about a KPI, a visibility about your performance, I see a bit more going on in 2025. What I miss from these control towers, this predictive, is probably the part of root cause analysis, understanding why things have not happened as expected. What are the options to minimize impact in your supply chain, getting recommendations, so learning out of this. So I think there is an initial step. Still, if you think about the full name on what at least means for me, I would say there's still a bit to learn on this space.
Pablo?
Yeah, I think I started working with the concept of control towers, I would say more than 12, 15 years ago, when I was working at Accenture with Marta and some other colleagues. And the vision was always the cross-functional, connected, real-time supply chain, where you see there is a delay in a shipment and you can automatically take a decision whether this customer is being impacted. And I think the vision stands. I think during the last years, there's been some adoption, and we have gone into some sort of control towers. Logistics control towers have definitely taken the lead into understanding what is the state of the art when it comes to the logistics performance. The reality is that the control towers that are going to deliver most value is what Marta was highlighting, is a cross-functional visibility and predictable control towers. You predict something is going to happen at your tier 3 supplier, and you can map down through a good digital twin how should you prioritize your customer orders. That is something that I think we are in a much better position as an industry, vendors, partners, and consulting companies to start shaping those up in the years to come. So some good successes. I think things will come better in the next year.
Yeah. So I read some predictions of the 0100 analyst in late 2024. So they made a prediction for 2025 that 40% of companies will integrate digital twins into their operations by 2025. But they were looking back earlier this year. And in reality, hiring for digital twin skill set has stagnated at only 22% of companies in supply chain. So half of them. So basically, there was some traction in digital supply chain twin, but not as much as they were expecting. So that's the reality. But maybe moving forward, in 2026, new supply chain technology will finally make the leap from proof of concept to enterprise-wide impact. Top or flop? So the expectations are high. Okay, Marta?
So yeah, I think that 2026 is finally the year to really take the advantage of the full value of technology, right? And you were mentioning, right, in SNOP, in IVP processes, we see more and more not just supply chain involved, but commercial, finance, and the full organization. So all these emerging supply chain technologies have really at the core financial implications of in terms of any decision that you may take, right? So all this really helps to create this wide space across the enterprise, because you can you can provide information and provide some understanding also to commercial team. What would be the implications in terms of your client? What would be service, how service level is going to be affected, but also how COGS is going to evolve, right, from a financial perspective, or any lost sales probability, right? So all this, and how do you want to adapt your workforce or your production team? So all these technologies enable this enterprise-wide impact, right? Because it really provides more like the information translated to the different players all together with a single source of truth.
Pablo?
Yeah, and I agree with Marta, and I would say, I would add that from a technology vendor standpoint, I think we are fully convinced that the only way to get this leap happen is if we concentrate on the value that our technology delivers to the business. So I think we are moving away from being happy because the technology was switched on and then go away. I think that there is a recognition in the market across all the parties that technology needs to enable value, needs to enable transformation, and I think this recognition is what is going to make finally the things being adopted in the right manner. And then if something is not delivering value, why should you at all implement it? Just do something else. So I think I'm very positive and optimistic around the year to come and the next years to come, because I think we are in the right mindset to make that happen.
Yeah, and I agree. Connecting to what Marta was just saying, I see a lot of companies are now working hard together with finance to get forecast value add, get better insight what this does forecast bring as value. Customer segmentation is getting better. The cost to serve, finally you get data from finance and cost allocation to have cost segmentation and landed costs and beyond that. So I think that the financial aspect, what Marta mentioned, is I think crucial in this point, and get the value. Some question, as AI automates more transactional and analytical supply chain functions, what human capability do you believe organizations should prioritize developing over the next 3 to 5 years? We'll get to the people part, but maybe to get engagement. So Marta. So what kind of human capabilities should we develop in this sense to make it happen?
Yeah. So for me, one of the main topics is how do we transform data into insights? And that's really something where human can bring a lot of value and can also help agents or AI to really improve. So first of all, it's about having data available. I fully agree, and there's a lot of effort on that. But how to interpret that data? What is the level of accuracy of that data? What are the implications if this increases, if this decreases? What would be implications in different departments, in different, from a client perspective? This is something where you need to have a deep understanding of your industry and your ways of working. So really human need to focus on providing this intelligence out of the data. I think that one of the things that we were discussing with one client some time ago, they were saying, I need 5 days to generate all the data to provide all this, to work on and create this report that I need for my management. Now, with all these new AI, new sources of data lakes, they could do this directly in a few minutes, but then they have all this time to really understand what does this mean? What are the implications for the company? How do you how the strategy of the company can be reflected in the actions that you will drive out of this data? How are you going to respond to the drop in a specific brand, or a specific supplier where you have like some constraints. All this is where humans will add the next level of value to the company.
Maybe it's a good point could bridge to the next statement. It's about data. So the data question in 2025, data was no longer a barrier to supply chain transformation. Top or flop? Hesitant, Pablo?
Yeah. Let me just make one comment to the previous question, because I was thinking and reflecting on that. Two very comment. One is human capabilities that AI will not have. One, I think it's intuition. And I think intuition is something we're going to be requiring more and more from our professionals in supply chain. And intuition is going to be something that people with experience, people with the experience in different functions, people that can understand what happens in logistics impacts inventory, what happens in customs might affect into your logistics delay. And I think that intuition and that cross-functional capabilities is something that is going to be extremely valuable, and that comes with experience and being able to move our people from one position to another, from one industry to another. So just want to comment on that one.
Valid point, but maybe get back to this point about availability of data.
So data, I think it's obvious. There is data is never going to be perfect, but we still know, and especially if I think from how we see the supply chain world at e2open, WiseTech is data is about your external connected data. And companies, still many companies are trying to do a perfect plan with their wrong signals, because they don't have the commitments from the suppliers, because they don't have the visibility on the inbound flows, or they don't get the right signals from their distributions or sales channels. So I think data is still a barrier to enhance that transformation, and it's not because data is not available, it's because not everyone has fully understood that there is a need to get those connections to make supply chain work seamlessly.
Okay, Marta, what do you think? You said
I
flop,
think that
Marta?
data might be a barrier, but it's not a stopper. I think that that's super important to say, because knowing that we may struggle, right, in certain areas of data, our approach has been always to start certain transformations with a data readiness check, right? Where you can see what is your main master data that is needed, transactional data, level of accuracy, data quality, and then there are some corrective actions to get this better. Probably you will not get this perfect from day one, but you will get this better through the cycles. But that's a completely something that is really important, because if we plan, and my experience in the past, when we have planned this in advance as a really the starting point of a transformation, together with operating model and all the big transformation areas, when you plan for this in advance, it's not a stopper. It's not really a bottleneck, but of course it can be a barrier. So the worst thing you can do is to ignore that data may be an issue. But of course, it's not a stopper for us to progress.
So maybe for moving on for this year, so data isn't going to be the bottleneck anymore, and will provide the insight supply chains need in 2026 and beyond. So agree or disagree, top or flop?
Marta.
So briefly, because we still have one statement to go. Marta, you hesitate?
Yeah, because I think that it's not that it's from one day to the next we are going to have perfect data. But for example, now One example of one client that we are working on, we created some agents that were checking transactional data about lead times, and they were comparing that lead time from the day-to-day transactional data with master data that we were using in the tool, and then they were raising some recommendations to change a specific master data. All this will make things really easier than in the past to generate some insights that will be needed to improve. It's gonna be perfect. It's not gonna be bottleneck anymore. Probably not.
Pablo?
Yeah, I think I would definitely fully agree with what Marta said. I think we have now the recognition that data is never going to be perfect, and I think companies recognize that. We need to just pass through that and see what can we do. Was the optimal plan? Was the optimal execution with the data we have, and how we can enhance that data to make that perfect, that better, not perfect. That will come, but I think. As an excuse, we are running out of data being a good excuse for transformation.
Okay. Final statement. So you were in Barcelona at the Gartner event. I think it was last week. It was all about autonomous supply chains. So this is the last statement, and it's about that. Autonomous supply chains were the boldest promise of 2025. Several organizations were successful and moved past exception-based management. Top or flop? So that's clear. So briefly, and then we go off to 2026. So Marta, why was it a flop?
Not yet, right? So autonomous is really a big word, right? I think that's kind of a vision, and we need to understand this as a vision. Already, I think that there was a lot of effort in 2025 to really accept technology recommendations and work on exceptions. That's already a big change in the mindset, where there's still a lot of organizations that make manual adjustments about almost everything they receive. So creating this build trust and creating some exceptions was already a big step for 2025.
So maybe moving on, considering the time, 2026 will bring genuinely self-orchestrating supply chains. The generation of autonomous supply chain is now. Top or flop? Yeah, as a vendor, Pablo, explain.
I think that as a vendor, I think the autonomous is a bit of a pretentious word, right? And I think it's too aspirational given where we are. I think, however, the generation of automation tools that can get you, for example, codes classified automatically, getting the right exceptions sorted for you. I think there are a lot of great use cases that are putting us into the more self-orchestrated supply chains. I think I strongly believe that humans will always be in the loop. We are in the way. It's a bit too much to say that 2026 will see the first 10 autonomous supply chains running.
Marta?
A bit the same. The only thing that I would add is that for me, objective of 2026 is to work together, agents and people as one team. So I think that we will need to think the agents as also the colleague that can help you provide information, solve some of the topics. And it's already really a good aspiration to think about how are we gonna work AI and humans together to get at least the next level of results in our supply chains.
Right. Considering the time, so I did a survey in the last 3 years, but we don't go into that because we covered a lot. So I will skip this. But maybe the key takeaways. So Pablo, what are your main takeaway discussing all these statements?
Yeah, I could probably summarize quickly in under 30 seconds. I think probably when we talk about supply chain transformations, the power of 3 is pretty unique and definitely delivers value. System integrators, technology providers, customer working with one unique objective. Second would be technology is available to enhance value. Step back and think about this roadmap and how to put things in place that make sense and deliver the outcomes. And probably, yes, AI, we all love AI. Don't just follow the shiny objects. Let's put that in the context of a roadmap that delivers value.
Marta, final words on your side?
Yeah. So AI is a big word, but probably our focus should be on how are we gonna change the ways of working? How are we gonna move to the next level in terms of approaching the value and achieving the value out of our supply chains? And then AI data would be really the key enablers to help us in this process. But thinking on the mindset, so supply chains are still managed by people. So how do we give them all the tools and all the support agents, whatever is needed to really take the right decisions is what is our priority for 2026.
So thanks for all these answers and your statements, tops and flops. So, we're running out of time, but we already have answered a lot of questions. So right after this, we will be available in the virtual lounge. So if you want to sit with us and have some more further conversations, please join us at table 1. We'll be right there. For further information, so this on the left is our company IT portfolio. You can fill out yourself to create your own roadmap for IT applications for your end-to-end supply chain. In the middle, you see a recent report by Accenture about the supply chain workforce in this day and age of AI. And on the right-hand side, you see the playbook for the connected supply chain by e2open, how you roll it out really end-to-end across your whole ecosystem and to make it work. So with this, I would like to thank you. So Marta, thank you for joining.
Thank you.
And Pablo, also thank you for your comments.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. That was good. For the audience, thank you for joining live or in a recording. Thank you for joining me and Marta and Pablo with this interesting conversation. I hope you liked it. And maybe we'll see you in the lounge right after this. Or if not, maybe we'll see you another time in another webinar. Thanks for now and bye-bye.